Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Warhammer Underworlds for the channel, and today Domitan's Stormcoven are going up against Ylthari's Guardians on the opposite side of the boards that you saw last time, which are from the Death Gorge box. Still don't have any of the warbands painted up yet, but this is the opposite end of the boards. The other side is kind of like a frozen over lake. This has, I'm not sure if it's all wood, but definitely some like driftwood, some more cover hexes, a lethal hex, and that kind of thing. Again, very aggressive spawn points as well, depending on which board you pick. Although even if you pick this one and it was round the other way, they offer quite aggressive placements for where you start. But anyway, let's take a quick look at both sides, who have already rolled off for objectives, and we'll get started. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. So here is Domitan's Stormcoven being led by Domitan himself, although really they swap because that's their mechanic. When one of them ends an activation, another one can inspire for the turn, and they kind of trade who's inspired, unless there's only one of them left alive, in which case they are permanently inspired. He's joined by Sarpon over here with the long stick spear thing, and then Leona over here, who's kind of gliding because flying is her thing. I think she has that innately. Yes, she does. Just as a quick mention, a friend of mine went to Warhammer World for an Underworlds tournament in August, I believe it was. Got given a set of exclusive card variants that he already had, so he actually donated them to the channel, and amongst them were the stat cards for this warband. They look the same on this side, but on the inspired side they have unique art instead of the same art. It's pretty cool looking, so thank you very much for that. Very neat looking cards. There's Leona's, just in case you're curious, harnessing the lightning, and then finally Sarpon right there. That's what his looks like on the back as well. Very neat. And here is Ylthari's Guardians for their second showing on the channel. This is an older warband, and they technically don't have a rivals deck like we discussed last time. They have 10 objective cards by default instead of 12, and 22 power cards instead of 20. So have to do a little bit of fandangling, but more or less it's a rivals deck. Being led by Ylthari, the one who is mostly vines, and then good grief, these names, here we go again. This is Ansley, and that's the easy one. She's the archer. And then we have Scathiel, I think I was mispronouncing his name last time, I'm pretty sure it's Scathiel, and Galangan over here. Apologies for any pronunciations, their names are weird, but we'll see how they do. They are an older warband, so they do struggle a little bit, I think, but Domitan Stormcoven also seem a little weak, to be honest, especially compared to Ephelim's Pandemonium, which come in the box with them, the weird hollow box. Ephelim's Pandemonium keeps on winning tournaments. Stormcoven gets forgotten about. So I think in that regard it will probably be a little more even. We'll get both sides set up and be back at the start of the game. And here we are all set up and good to go. The Stormcoven on your left of the screen will be taking first action in the first of 3 rounds. Let's just flip over for the benefit of the camera to show where every objective is. So down here we have objective 2, then we have objective 1, and then we have, we have 1, 2, 3. Well, so the 2 highest scoring objectives, I don't think it matters for either of their decks though, but 4 and 5 are over here. And this time around we will at least try and remember when a fire gets taken out of action, you can use the Death Gorge rule to put down a temporary bit of either cover or line of sight blocking for the rest of the round. Didn't really come up last time, but we'll pay more attention to it this time and hopefully see it in action. With that, let's jump into round 1. So it was Leona who got the game started, doing a move action onto objective 1 there, and then using a Blaze of Heavens in the power phase, which is this. We've seen it before. If cast, choose one enemy fighter with an X hex phase, where X is 3 plus the number of friendly wizards within 2, which at the time was 1, giving her range 4, needing a swirl to deal 1 damage to the fighter. She did get it, so she has dealt 1 damage. Just come over here to, which one is that? That is Scathiel, so he has taken 1 of his 3 health. When she ends her activation, Sarpon is inspiring over here, and when he inspires, he gets an automatic reaction where a friendly fighter may be pushed 1 hex, hence why Domitan has been pushed 1 hex onto the cover hex there. And for the first activation for Ylthari's Guardians, the lady herself is up, doing a charge action from where she started to get within range 3 to fire her, what is it called? The Reaping, which is a range 3 magic action. She's a level 2 wizard, so 2 magic dice and 2 damage of a hit. She got 1 success, but it was a crit. However, Leona fully blocked it with a crit. Now, because she rolled a successful magic attack, because presumably a draw does count as a success in this regard. Let's see, after this fighter successfully casts a spell. It did successfully cast, it just didn't do damage, so presumably that does mean the inspire condition is met, so she is now inspired, because she would heal, and that's her inspire condition. She doesn't actually need to heal as long as she procs something that would heal her. So she has inspired now, didn't do any damage unfortunately, and now they're going to play a power card that requires some more magic dice being rolled, I think. Yep, indeed there was. Pangs of the Great Lack was cast. Gambit spell, dealing swirl. If it's cast, choose an enemy fighter within 5 hexes, they suffer 1 damage. She got her 1 swirl required, so Leona did at least take 1 damage from that, even though she successfully blocked the original spell attack. The Inspired Sarpon activated, also doing a move action to make a united front for the Stormcoven here, standing between them. And then from where he was in the power phase, he tried to use Pillar of Lightning to electrify and turn an objective into a lethal hex as well as an objective hex. Tried to do that on objective 5, needed a lightning bolt, and he's a level 2 mage on his inspired side, but managed to whiff it with 2 swirls, so nothing there. When he ended his activation phase, he uninspired and Domitan inspired, immediately scoring Channel the Storm for 1 glory. Score this immediately after your second or subsequent friendly fire became inspired in the same round, and that glory is also immediately being spent on the Liber Fulminis for Domitan. So +1 range to his range 2 plus spell attack actions, so his basic spell attack action is now range 5. Oh sorry, it's range 4 now, not range 5. 5 would be a bit ridiculous. The slightly wounded Scathiel activated for Ylthari Guardians next, doing a charge action but only moving 1 hex, and then attacking Domitan, really looking for a crit in order to proc his reaction, which then does 1 additional true damage. He got 1 success with the hammer there though, and Domitan did not get his block required, and he actually did not take 1 damage, he took 2. His base damage is 2. There we go. So actually that's pretty bad, because I think he only has 5 health on his inspired side. Yes he does, so if he's uninspired, that's half his health gone. So Domitan activated for his warband next, and did a movement action, retreating from the cover hex back here, and doing so in order to score Tempest's Fury. They're not being very aggressive, but they are scoring, so they have scored their 2nd glory there. Score this immediately after the 3rd or subsequent move action made by friendly fighters in the same phase. Not being spent on anything yet, but that does put them at 2-0. Anslane the Archer activated next for Ylthari's Guardians. Forgot to mention though, when Domitan finished his activation, Leona inspired, just as a matter of not getting it on camera. She just gives everyone +1 move and fly while she's inspired. Anyway, Anslane did a charge, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, using up, 4, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, yes, 4, I can count. And then trying to attack Domitan to do a little bit more chip damage, because she only does 1. 2 dice needing hammers though, so she whiffed the roll entirely. So the final activation of the first round for Domitan Stormcoven was the inspired Leona, staying where she was, because she couldn't do any charge actions, because they all have move tokens. Choosing to do a spell attack action, range 3, her 2 dice because she's inspired, and needing swirls. So unfortunately, she whiffed the roll with 2 lightning bolts. She was trying to hit Scathiel, because she was then going to chain that into attack this card, which would have also damaged adjacent enemies, which might have then went into them being a condition to score an objective card. Would have been very good, but unfortunately, she whiffed at the worst possible moment. And the final activation of the first round for Ylthari's Guardians also didn't really pay off. Galangan did a charge. They've all done charges, they're very aggressive. Charged his 4 down here in order to attack the already wounded Leona. 2 dice, needing hammers, and managing to whiff entirely. And he doesn't have anything to help him with that, because he's got a reaction where he needs to get attacked. I think he has to roll crits on his defense roll to do true damage back. So unfortunately, big fat nothing there. Not exactly bombastic to take us to the end of the round, but we'll see what's scoring. So at the end of the first round, it's also looking a bit disastrous for both sides, because neither of them are scoring any objective cards in the end phase. So with that, we're just going to be going straight into round 2. Ylthari's Guardians have been exceptionally aggressive. They are getting up in the face of Domitan Stormcoven, and they don't like that. They want to kind of stay at range and cast spells. They had to burn a lot of actions that first round just to score the Tempest Fury, was it? By doing those move actions instead of attacking, so they're starting on the back foot, but everything could change. Let's go into round 2 and see how it plays out. So it was quite pivotal, I think, who got first action in the second round, and it was Ylthari's Guardians. Scathiel activated, doing a charge and using that prodigious 4 movement. Started up there, came round like a dog wanting a bone, just hunting down Domitan, and because he isn't inspired, he does only have 4 health and he has 2 damage on him. So he rolled against me, he was looking for that crit again to do the true damage and the reaction, didn't get it. But did get 2 successes, which Domitan did not block, which means, because he isn't inspired, he is also very dead. He is out of there. For 1 glory for the kill, he would have been worth 2 if he was inspired and got killed, so maybe that's a mixed blessing. But also, strikes swiftly, scores. Scorbus immediately if a friendly fighter takes an enemy fighter out of action with a charge action. So that is actually 2 glory he has been worth. And on these old cards, because surge wasn't a thing, if it's a score this immediately, if it has that word, it's counting as a surge. So they are drawing another one into hand. Both those glory that they just got are actually also being spent on Warding Stance and Spiteful Thorns. So Ylthari is getting her unique upgrade here. Reaction, after an enemy fighter's attack action with a range 1 that targets this fighter and succeeds, roll an attack die. If it's a hammer or a crit, they deal 1 or get dealt 1 damage by her thorns. And Warding Stance is Galangan's unique, which gives him +1 defense, which actually puts him at 3 defense dice, so that is pretty powerful. Now there is still more to happen in her turn, but we're going to do it step by step just to make sure we cover everything. Leona activated, she is inspired from the end of the last turn. She did a charge action, moving 4 from where she was, hopping from objective 1 to objective 4 as it happens, and then doing a spell attack action on Anslane down here. Now she rolled 2 crits for it. It does proc, but she does 1 damage to herself, harnessing too much of the warp, I guess, or whatever they call it in Age of Sigmar terms. So she hurt herself, but that doesn't take her out, so the spell still goes through. It wasn't blocked, so that is 2 of Anslane's 3 health. That also scores for 1 glory, Heaven Sent. Scorbus immediately after a friendly fighter casts a spell, and that fighter is holding an objective in no one's or enemy's territory. So hopefully worth the risk of her taking damage, because that leaves her on 2 health. Now there is more to her turn, so we're back again in a second. Alright, there we go. Lightning Tether was played. This is what they were trying to play into in the first turn. Gambit Spell Reaction, play this after a fighter's successful spell attack action, which just happened. After the drive back step, if cast, deal 1 damage to each enemy fighter adjacent to the target. And ironically, it has one of her quotes on the bottom. Isn't this fun? So, she didn't bother driving her back. Not that it really mattered, because she still would have been adjacent if pushed there. So that does mean that Galangan there takes 1 true damage of his 4 health. But that's still not it, because at the end of her turn, Sarpon is inspiring. So she uninspires, and his passive kicks in when he's inspired. Use after this fighter is inspired, choose 1 friendly fighter and push them 1 hex. Leona is being pushed onto the cover hex right there to try and give her a little bit more protection with that reroll on her defense, on 1 defense. Well, fearing a lightning bolt coming her way from Sarpon when he activates, Anslane was the second activation for Ylthari's Guardians, doing a charge to get back onto objective 4, supporting or being supported by Ylthari herself, and shooting an arrow into Leona, getting 2 successes, one of which being a crit, and that she couldn't get a crit even with the reroll from being in cover. So it's only 1 damage though, which means that Leona is still alive. She's 1 away from death, but so is Anslane. So it makes it kind of even, I guess, and kind of sets up something for the other 2 activations. Well, for all the times for him to whiff an attack, it most definitely was not now. Sarpon really screwed up. He did a charge to get himself to relative safety away from some of the other Sylvaneth, and then did a spell attack action to try and just do the 1 damage he needed to do to Anslane. I guess it really wasn't his fault, because he did roll 1 success. He was looking for swirls. But she rolled a crit, so the spell attack action does nothing. He is staying as the one who is inspired, since it doesn't seem like Leona will be long for this world, and the 2 unspent glory they had, he's spending on some upgrades to give him a bit more versatility when he might end up being the last one alive. So he's getting Blades of Azure and Herald of the Storm, both being applied to Sarpon. One gives his range 2 attack actions, range 3, and stagger, so it just means his... actually his basic attack is range 2, yeah, so his basic attack is range 3 and staggers now. And Herald of the Storm is +1 move and a reaction. After an activation step in which this fighter made a successful spell attack action, he can remove a charge and change it into a move instead. Third activation of the second round for Ylthari's Guardians was Ylthari herself doing a charge action to get a little bit of distance between her and Leona, not Leonia, retreating onto objective 5 there, and then doing another spell attack action, needing swirls, getting a crit, and it wasn't blocked. That's 2 damage, so Leona is out of there for their 3rd glory. She would have inspired again if she wasn't already for getting that crit in the roll. If she'd been wounded, she also would have healed off of that. Nothing else happening with that turn though, so it does only mean Sarpon can activate for those other 2 turns. He already has a charge token, but like we've been mentioning, but because it's new with Death Guard, we'll mention it again. If everyone in your crew warband has activated and has a charge token, and you still have activations left, they are now allowed to make a move action if they wish. Oh, Sarpon's bad luck continues. He once again tried to kill Anslane, this time opting to use his range 2 buffed up to range 3 basic attack with his Stormbound weapon. 3 dice, hammers, 2 damage with Scouring, so if he's adjacent on his inspired side he deals +1 damage. He only got the 1 success, and she got 1 success on her block. She needs dodges, so he did nothing. Galangan was the last activation of the 2nd round for Ylthari's Guardians, doing a charge action to step between Sarpon and Anslane to support her, and then attacked, needing hammers, getting 1, but Sarpon actually did fully block on his inspired side. He rolls 2 and he's looking for blocks, or shields, so no damage there. They are spending their 1 unspent glory they had though to give Unflinching Guardian to Galangan, which is as follows. It's a reaction. During an enemy fighter's attack action that targets a friendly fighter supported by this fighter after the defense roll, but before the attack action succeeds or fails, you can reroll 1 defense dice. So presumably, supporting is just adjacent to, so presumably that does mean once Sarpon inevitably tries to kill Anslane again, she'll at least get a reroll on her defense die. Well, there was no escaping that one with all 3 successes and 1 crit. Although she did reroll into a crit, there's still more successes on Sarpon's side, so that is Anslane out of there, giving him 1 glory for his trouble, and he actually does deny them an objective card by doing that as well. And that takes us to the end of the round, the end of the 2nd round I should say. At the end of the 2nd round, both sides are scoring some end phase cards. We'll start with Domitan Stormcoven, although I guess it's Sarpon Stormcoven now because he's the last man standing. They scored Thunderstruck, You've Been. Score this in the end phase if 3 or more enemy fighters each have 1 or more wound counters and or are out of action. 2 of them have wound counters and 1 of them is out of action. So that is 1 glory for them, taking them to 5. They might have been denied a certain card scoring, but Anslane dying actually facilitated a different card scoring. Vengeful Revenants is scoring for Ylthari's Guardians. Score this in the end phase if at least 1 friendly fighter is out of action and at least twice as many enemy fighters as friendly fighters are out of action. 1 friendly is dead, 2 unfriendlies dead, which actually takes them to 5 as well. So although Sarpon is very outnumbered, as the camera refuses to refocus, there we go. Although Sarpon is hideously outnumbered on the table as we go into the 3rd and final round, score wise it's completely even. Round 3 began with Ylthari's Guardians taking the first activation again, and they went with Galangan, and it's basically pick on Sarpon until he dies. So he swung, getting 2 successes. Sarpon got 1 success on his block, so not good enough. So that is half his health gone with 2 damage. But you'll notice some spell dice there, a bit reflective, including a crit, which made it succeed. Celestial Blades was played by Sarpon during the power step. Gambit spell, if cast, choose a friendly fighter. He's choosing himself, obviously. You can reroll 1 die in that fighter's attack rolls, and it persists until the end of the round. So it'll be kept to one side, because that is going to last, and it might matter. In the same power phase, Ylthari's Guardians didn't play any power cards at all, but Aura of Power was played, which is why Galangan has a stagger token. Choose an enemy fighter that is adjacent to 1 or more friendlies, stagger them. Simple as that. Just to try and make it easier for Sarpon to start hitting back. Oh man, even when trying to stack things in Sarpon's favour, it just doesn't work out. He took a swing without moving at Galangan, getting a reroll from Celestial Blades, getting the stagger as well, and getting a crit and a success, all said and done. However, Galangan got 2 successes as well because he needs shields, so he got a crit and a shield. So not only does that mean he took no damage, it also means that his reaction kicks in and Sarpon takes 1 more damage. Unfortunately, meaning he's got 1 health left, and because of his Scouring roll, if he had landed the hit, he would have killed him, because he's already got 1 damage on him and it would have done 3. That needed to happen for there to be any hope, because if, like, full disclosure, if Sarpon lives to the end of the turn, the end of the round I mean, he'll score 4 glory If he dies, that will not happen, and they will lose. So it's not looking good, because their best bet right now is just Galangan activating again and taking a swing, because he's rolling the same dice that Skathiel would be rolling, and Skathiel was out of range. Same number of dice that Ylthari would be rolling if she did a spell attack action. So it really does just come down to this. Oh, there's still a glimmer of hope, because Galangan is their second activation, whiffed his attack roll entirely. He doesn't have any rerolls for that, so it just comes down to Sarpon now attacking back again. And I mean, Ylthari can still definitely do a charge attack action and fire a spell off at him, so it's not like he's safe if this happens, but this could be the turning point. And on his third attempt, either way, Sarpon managed to do it. 3 successes, Galangan got none, so he is out of there, and that also breaks the tie, at least so far, for 1 glory, taking them to 6, to the Ylthari's Guardians 5. That, again, does not seal the game at all, because Ylthari can definitely still reach him. I don't think Skathiel can, because he only moves 4. Oh, never mind. 1, 2, 3, 4. He can absolutely take a direct route and also attack. So I guess we'll see which one of them tries to kill him first. And it was Ylthari herself who sealed the deal, doing a charge from Objective 5, coming down here onto Objective 4, doing her spell attack, getting 2 successes, both of which got through, taking Sarpon out and giving them 1 glory. So now everything is totally even. I don't think there's anything the Stormcoven can really do. They can't score anything. It doesn't seem like it. So, and because of where Skathiel is, he isn't able to facilitate anything else. That's why she had to be the one to try and finish the job. So I think with that we can just go straight into the end phase and see how the final scores are going to play out. If Sarpon had rolled just a little bit better, or if Galangan had rolled just a little bit worse, i.e. not a crit, this would have been a completely different result, because as we go into the final round, or the final end phase of the round, both sides are even, with 6 each. If Sarpon had lived to the end of the turn, he would have scored 4 with Knights Arcanum and Eye of the Hurricane, just for being the only one to activate every time, and also for being an inspired fighter on an objective token. If he'd killed Galangan early, he would have used his second last or last activation to move on to Objective 4 and just kind of like planted there. And that would have cinched it for them. As it is though, Show No Mercy scores for Ylthari's Guardians. Score this in the end phase if 3 or more enemy fighters are out of action. Obviously there is exactly 3 dead. And that breaks the tie for them and gives them 7. It's taking them to the win. If Skathiel hadn't been quite so far away and could have made it onto Objective 4 and done the deed and let Ylthari stay up there, they would have scored Proclaim the Lamentary, which would have been 2 more. Or, if Sarpon had gone off and killed everyone, they would have scored 1 for having 1 person left alive, although that wouldn't have swung it. So, Sarpon having real bad luck in every regard except survivability, well, being the last one to die, I guess. If he'd been more consistent with his hits, that would have been a win for Domitan Stormcoven with a last minute swing right at the end. But he blew it. He blew it. Ylthari's Guardians, they are obviously exceptionally dated, but going up against Domitan Stormcoven, it felt like a fair fight, because they're not great, unfortunately, and I wish they were better, because I love lightning magic, but they're not that great. And Ylthari's Guardians, they inspire off of getting healed, and there's only really 2 ways to heal. Ylthari can heal herself, and there's a card that Galangan can use to heal himself or an adjacent friendly that I think we saw last time they were on the table. I think that's the only 2 ways. So it is a little bit weird in that regard, although they don't get super buffed stats on their side. They're one of those warbands that really probably does need to be updated for the more modern versions of Underworld. Models are fun though, and they're thematically all about vengeance, which is very on par for the Sylvaneth. Either way though, I hope you enjoyed watching and will continue to support seeing more Underworlds on the channel. Please do remember to show your support, and if you want to go above and beyond to support what we do here on the channel, consider becoming a channel member, pressing the thanks button. It helps out a lot and is all reinvested in the channel. Thank you though, and until next time, ta-da for now.